A few people have asked my thoughts on this new Netflix documentary, The Crash. And I was also talking with a buddy of mine at length about it yesterday, who's a psychiatrist. So I wanted to just give some of my thoughts on it. I am not a licensed clinician. I'm not diagnosing anyone here, obviously. These are just my thoughts and observations as a survivor of narcissistic abuse and a narcissistic abuse recovery coach. So one of my friends sent me a message and said, what in the DSM am I looking at here? These documentaries are meant to keep you in suspense. They're not really meant to educate you. So I think it is good to have people who study this kind of give their opinion so you could actually know, what am I seeing here? What is up with these people who are committing these crimes? And also one thing about this Netflix documentary is they really left a lot of valuable information out that really points to her guilt. And I think the reason of that is because it's entertainment and they want to keep you on the edge of your seat. And they want to keep people dialoguing about whether she intentionally did it or not. But it's pretty clear from some of the other documentaries that she is more likely to be guilty and have premeditated the crash than what is led on in the Netflix documentary. That said, even with the limited amount of information on her, I could see a lot in the documentary that's worth talking about. And as far as what in the DSM, I'm looking at cluster B personality disorders, and borderline, narcissistic, and antisocial personality disorder, which encompasses sociopathy and psychopathy, or now it's known as primary or secondary psychopathy. So one thing to know about these cluster Bs is, number one, they're thought to be on a spectrum of severity, where borderline would be on the lower end and antisocial would be on the higher end of severity of cluster B personality disorders. But also within that spectrum, they all have a Venn diagram between them. They all touch each other in some way. And what that means is there's just a little bit of each one, no matter what you're diagnosed with or what your primary features are. So the borderline is always going to have a little bit of a core of narcissism, and it might tiptoe into psychopathy in times of intense rage or psychosis. And same with a narcissist could end up having a real extreme reaction to abandonment, like the borderline. And all psychopaths are narcissists, not all narcissists are psychopaths. So they all can kind of touch each other and move through each other. So with this case, I see all of it. You can see that Mackenzie Shirilla has some real abandonment issues with her boyfriend, the boyfriend that she murdered. And so that would be in the borderline area. She did not want her boyfriend breaking up with her. And she was willing to basically kill him to keep that from happening. I'm not saying that's a feature of borderline, but fear of abandonment is. So that there's a little bit of borderline in there. Then, of course, we've got some real grandiose narcissism with her too. Some of the interviews with her high school friends, her social media, her fixation on her appearance, on designer clothes, expensive clothes and handbags, and this kind of mean girls vibe that she had with some of her other classmates. All of that really speaks to a grandiose persona, a narcissistic persona. So we've got a little borderline, we've got a little narcissism, and then where it steps into antisocial or sociopathy and psychopathy is the willingness to kill somebody for power or control or revenge. And this is what I was talking to my psychiatrist friend about. He said that could either be in the borderline area, in that the borderline is not aware of the consequences of their actions. They're just simply not aware of what will happen. They can only think about the one thing that they feel compelled to do. That would be more on the borderline. Or if it's more into the antisocial realm, that would be they are fully aware of the consequences and they don't care. The most important thing is power, control, and revenge. And it doesn't matter even if they die in the process of that. And it certainly doesn't matter if the person they're getting revenge on dies, or even this poor guy, this poor kid in the back seat, Davion, who didn't have anything to do with either one of them. And honestly, for me, the big takeaway of the documentary as a coach and survivor is how someone like Mackenzie Shirilla, who is so extremely disordered, could go forth and have a relatively normal life, and no one really catching all of these red flags. Of course, some people were catching them. Her boyfriend was filming her threats and filming their fights and had called for help in the car at one point. But for the most part, she was completely enabled by her parents and also by friends. There was that one friend who still stood by her side. So it kind of shows that you can be very disordered, very abusive, and still have people like your parents or a friend, or now we'd call them a flying monkey, a big group community still supporting you while you're very abusive to others. And this is such a tragic case that two people lost their lives. And that's part of why I think it's so important to educate people on what this looks like, on what the red flags are around these disordered behaviors, so that you could just make an informed decision about what is healthy and normal in a relationship and what is not, and potentially could end really tragically, if not in death, just ruining your life. So those are my thoughts on the crash. That's very abbreviated, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Anything to add or any questions, you can just drop them down below. If you